Hey, my name is Sandeep Tekchandani. I'm the founder of Sandeep.mba and welcome to my GMAT video lesson. In this GMAT video lesson, we'll study the 6 types of GMAT reading comprehension questions. They are main idea, supporting ideas, inferences, contextual, logical structure, and eventually style and tone. So let's start with the main idea. See, a passage is an integrated whole. That is, the individual sentences and paragraphs combined together to communicate one central point. Sometimes the central point will be stated directly, but sometimes you will have to determine the central point from the overall structure of the passage. These kinds of questions may ask you to paraphrase the main idea, identify the author's aim, assign a title that encapsulates the main idea. In this slide, we will study the supporting ideas question type. These questions test whether you can determine the supporting ideas in a passage and distinguish them from the central point. These questions measure your ability to distinguish between ideas that are explicitly stated in the passage and the ideas that are implied by the author. You may be asked about to cite the facts stated in the passage, the precise points deployed by the author to bolster his or her views, nuances used to support the central idea. In this slide, we will study the inference type of questions. These questions test the ideas that are not directly stated in the passage but are implied by the author. These questions ask about ideas that must be deduced from the information that is directly stated. They measure your ability to decode the author's obscured meaning. To answer these questions, you may have to go beyond the literal meanings of the words, recognize a surrogate interpretation, that is, you will have to come up with an alternative explanation, identify the meaning metaphorically. In this slide, we will study the contextual question type. These questions measure your ability to observe the relationships between the ideas presented by the author and other ideas that might parallel those in the passage. In this kind of question, you may be asked to identify a similar hypothetical situation, select analogous examples. In other words, you'll have to select examples that are similar to the ones given by the author, apply ideas given in the passage to a circumstance not mentioned by the author, and finally you'll have to recognize ideas that the author would probably concur with or banish. Basically, you will have to determine the ideas that the author would probably agree or disagree with. The fifth question type is called the logical structure. These questions may require you to analyze and evaluate the organization and logic of a passage. Essentially, these questions are based on the construction of the passage. They may ask you how a passage is structured. For example, does it define an idea, compare various perceptions, or does it refute an idea? You must pay close attention to the author's persuasion skills, how the author persuades readers to accept his or her viewpoints. What is the reason behind the author's use of certain nuances? You must also be able to identify assumptions that the author is making, merits and demerits of the author's idea. Basically, you'll have to assess the strengths and weaknesses of the author's viewpoints. And eventually, you must be able to present appropriate counter arguments. In this slide, we will study the last type of reading comprehension question. Style and tone questions ask about the expression of a passage and about the ideas in a passage that may be expressed through its diction. And by diction, I mean the author's choice of words. You must pay close attention to the author's choice of words in order to deduce the author's attitude. You must also pay close attention to the adjectives that describe the tone of the passage. Is the tone of the passage critical, questioning, objective, or enthusiastic? To answer these types of questions, you should ask yourself what hidden meanings are contained in the words of a passage beyond their literal meanings. Did the author use certain words because of their emotional content or because a particular audience would expect to hear them? Remember, these questions measure your ability to discern meaning expressed by the author through his or her choice of words. So let us just summarize what did we learn in this video lesson. We learned that there are 6 types of GMAT reading comprehension questions. They are main idea, supporting ideas, inferences, contextual, logical structure, and style and tone. I hope my explanation for these kinds of questions was clear. That is all, my friends. If you found my video lesson helpful, then you should go to sandeep.mba for more information on the GMAT, how to prepare for the GMAT and applying to business schools. You should also click on that like button and let me know in the comments which topics you would like me to cover in my future video lessons. And of course, if you have not yet subscribed, then go ahead and click on that bell so that you'll get notified about my future video lessons. All the best.